My dear friends, my dear, dear, dear friends, I just want to thank you first from the bottom of my wild heart for all the generosity that is already coming my way. I am so grateful. And I want to thank the extraordinary team that I have managed to build over the years, who, in the worst time of my life, has given me exactly what I needed. I want to thank my great executive director, Jill Angelo, my Doberman lioness, who, after what happened to me, and I'll describe it to you, grounded me fiercely and made me turn up to all the kinds of wild, gritty meetings you have to have when your house burns down with insurance agents, salvage crews, and that kept me grounded and focused. And I want to thank my beloved friend and assistant Miles, who walked with me with curt, clear dignity, not succumbing to any hysteria about what we were all facing, but absolutely focused, as Jill was, on responding immediately to all the obligations I still had. And I want to thank Ellen Gunter, who has been one of the greatest friends of my life and who has worked with me tirelessly on helping me finish, as I have now at last finished, my Mary Magdalene book called The Magdalene Revolution, that is going to come out next year on February the 10th. I couldn't have been surrounded in the biggest catastrophe of my life by more extraordinary people. I bow to you all and I thank you all. And I want to thank my dear old friend, Stephen Dinan, for stepping in immediately and with enormous grace and wisdom to help launch a GoFundMe, which is beginning to truly right my burnt ship. I'm speaking to you just before my 73rd birthday, and I just want you to know something so your hearts can be peaceful. And so what I'm about to say to you can become part of you to give you in this absolutely terrifying time calm, peace, strength, hope, and above all, bliss energy, so that you can know the birth that is now viscerally through the astounding, terrible, amazing grace of God happening in me. We are in a triple dark night. I wish I'd invented that phrase, but it's Matt Fox's phrase. And this triple dark night is a dark night of the soul, blackened and threatened by the madness and insanity exploding everywhere. A dark night of the creation, now absolutely at the mercy of our dementia and our cruelty and our dissociation, and the dark night of democracy, the one, although imperfect form, that can truly help us birth a new world. This triple dark night, I have been saying for a long time, is not the end of the great adventure we've been on for so many millions of years in all of our different transformations. It's the birth canal of a new divine humanity that can collaborate with the divine directly to co-create and birth a new world. And the triple dark night is designed perfectly with terrible and wonderful precision to put intolerable pressure on us from all directions, not to pulverize us alone, but to crucify and resurrect kill, and rebirth all of us together into a new world. I think many of you, and perhaps me at times, have thought that this vision, which I've been giving in deeper and deeper iterations for the last 30 years, is poetry. It isn't poetry, it's real. I am living the truth of my own teachings, which for any teacher is both a terrible and wonderful thing. And I want to begin what I want to say to you by reading you 3 poems that I have always loved, but which are now alive in the cells of my body. The first is from the beloved of 40 years that has walked with me as I have tried to walk with him, Jalaluddin Rumi. It goes like this. Ah, one spark flew and burned the house of my heart. Smoke filled the sky. The flames grew fierce in the wind. The fire of the heart is not easily lit. So don't cry out, "Oh Lord, rescue me from the burning flames. Spare me from the army of the thoughts that are marching through my mind. O heart of pure consciousness, you are the rulers of all hearts. After countless ages, you brought my soul all it ever wished for." The second is from a poem of Kabir I translated 2 weeks before the fire that burned down my house, destroyed all my possessions, ruined me financially, and took the life of the one I have loved the most in my life, my beloved, eternally beloved cat, Jade. And it goes like this. When the flames of truth crowd around you and come closer, see the gold in them. So when they consume you utterly, as they will, you will not be destroyed. Wait and watch who you will be, and you will see yourself walking out of the flames, serene, engoldened. And then a brief, amazing poem by the greatest of the Japanese poets, Basho. When I was in my 30s, I wrote my craziest novel called Burning Houses, prophetically. And I gave as an epigraph to that book a poem that I already thought I knew the meaning of, but of course, only partly did. And it goes like this. My house burned down. I own a vision of the rising moon. My house burnt down. I own a vision of the rising moon. What has happened to me is happening all over the world right now. It's happening in Gaza most terribly. It's happening in Ukraine most abominably. It's happening in the agony that Sudan is going through. And I know it's happening to all of you. I know all of you know that this is showtime, and that if the current group of sadistic thugs take over the world as they are doing right now, humanity's end is approaching. But what I also know now, in a way I could never have known before this terrible and wonderful tragedy burnt my house down and shot my head off, is that God is going to have the last word. And the last word is always, forever, yes. The last word is not death, but birth. The birth is here. I'm living it. Hundreds of thousands of other people are living it raggedly, gratefully, ecstatically, bewilderedly, but truly. And the helpers and the brothers and sisters and the pioneers all over the world will in the next years be coming together as the situation darkens to birth together an absolutely ancient and absolutely new vision on every level and in every realm to midwife all of us through this birth into a new world. For many years, I've known this intellectually, mystically, spiritually. I haven't known it as I know it now because I had to die and be reborn. I'm only at the beginnings of the beginnings of that earth. But I tell you honestly that if I died on my 73rd birthday, I would be dying dancing naked with gratitude before the beloved who has graced me far more than I ever could imagine until my house burned down and my head was shot off. And what that means for all of you who are listening is don't be afraid. Do the practices that I've shared with you, that other teachers here who know this are sharing with you, with deep faith, deep, relaxed, relentless intensity. Because if you do, concentrating not on the erupting darkness, but on the great yes that it's destined to birth out of its devastating, stupid, vulgar, cruel, corrupt. No, if you do the practices with faith that they will rebirth you, heart, mind, soul, and body, when the time comes for you to experience, and you're going to experience, not necessarily in the crazy way I've had to experience it, but because you have hearts and consciences, what's going to unfold on the world will be for you the burning of a house down, the burning many illusions, the burning of many fantasies, the burning of many soppy sentimental visions of God, the burning of many marshmallow mystical paths that you may have taken. But don't be afraid. If you've done the practices, you will be able to see the gold in the flames, trust beyond reason, and be patient on your knees for the astounding moment which will come when you see yourself walking out of the flames, serene and in golden. This process is absolutely here. It's real. It's God. It's universal. And the birth that it's going to give us the strength and courage to create together as brothers and sisters, no gurus, no masters, brothers and sisters, is going to astonish us all. And everything that I am going to do with the rest of my life is going to be dedicated absolutely to helping others understand, live, and prepare to be the containers of that great golden yes, that Rumi, that Kabir, that Basho, that Aurobindo, and that Mary Magdalene and Jesus prepared for us to experience and live at the moment when we need it most. How amazing that is, my friends. But don't believe me. Prepare, practice, believe, and you'll find out for yourself. On May the 2nd, a month ago, my house burned down and everything was destroyed. Everything. And my plans that I'd been carefully birthing for 2 years were all stuck in the birth canal because there was no money left. The worst thing about this wasn't the destruction of my things. I have loved the things that I collected. I have loved each one of the precious books that burned. I loved writing the bad poems that one day I was going to release on an unsuspecting world. They're gone. I loved keeping the manuscripts of all my different books with all the crisscrosses, and in the hope that one day I might sell it to some unsuspecting university for medical care. I loved them, but they're gone. I loved the photographs that Callas gave me when I met her, which were very precious to me, which I could have sold many times, but wouldn't, because she has been my guide into the divine feminine since I was 9, and I was not going to make money out of the one who had given me so much. They're gone. The only thing that mattered to me was my beloved cat, the one who had given her whole life to me, 17 and a half years of perfect, amazing, tender, blissful, playful, serene love. And when I came to see my house burning after a breakfast in which I, for the first time, found the courage to write the preface to the book on Mary Magdalene in a way I'm going to share with you, when I stood in the soft rain and looked up and saw black flames belching from my condo and realized, oh my God, everything's going to go, the only thing that mattered to me, or could ever have mattered to me, was her. And the great blessing in this horrific experience, the blessing that prepared the blessing that is irrigating my whole being now, is that she was not burnt alive. I would, I think, be dead if that had happened. I could not have borne that. But I found her in the bedroom. The study was what burnt most and then spread flames to everywhere else. But she had avoided the flames. She had laid down and gone to sleep, destroyed by the smoke. There was no signs of suffering. She was as serene and gorgeous as she always was. I have had about 300 photographs that I took of her asleep, because there was nothing to me so beautiful as seeing this enlightened being cat asleep. It absolutely obsessed me. But there she was, just as I had always loved and revered and worshipped her most. And I couldn't touch her. And it wasn't because I was scared of death. It was because I knew I was looking at the body of a saint, a bodhisattva. And my heart, although completely destroyed, was also gasped with reverence at what I was seeing. I'd always known she was, of course, a cat, but also something far, far more. I knew from intimate, long, intricate, daily, normal experience of her that she was fully awake and sent to me by the mysterious mercy of the divine to guide me, teach me, play with me, love me in a way that no human teacher and no lover and no friend ever done. And as I looked at her dead body, an amazing thing happened. One part of me was destroyed by heartbreak, an unimaginable heartbreak, because I knew who I was losing. And I knew too that I could never have that kind of love again. I also felt this descent of a great peace that came down from my head and just filled my whole being. I've experienced great trauma, so I know what the stunnedness of trauma is like. It was not like that at all. It was a descent of divine grace. And what that did to me, I now know, is that it made me experience at the same time the most frightening and beautiful fusion of two extreme opposites, absolute agony and absolute peace and surrender to whatever work the beloved was now going to do in me. And I would like to read to you what is going to end my book on Mary Magdalene, which is my in memoriam tribute to the being who I loved the most and who gave me the most and who was my daily experience of the miracle that can be created when two beings love each other with total mutual adoration. And I hope I can find it. I found it. So imagine a calico cat who was the garbo of cats lying in that room. So beautiful and so amazingly peaceful. Before I read what I'm going to read to you about her, I want to tell you what happened next. What happened next is that Jill, the ever efficient one, had already phoned for a cremation agency, an animal cremation agency that she knew would venerate Jade as I wanted to be venerated. And Miles, seeing the state I was in, wrapped Jade in the last towel that remained and carried her like a saint with reverence down into the rain to wait for the van. The lovely, chubby, young Midwestern guy who turned up. So sweet, so kind, so aware of what I was feeling because he had seen it so many times before, the desperate love that we feel when we lose beloved animal companion whom we have experienced unconditional rapture and love from. He took Jade from Miles and put her in the back of the van and laid her down tenderly. He was about to close the van. And I said, I want to have a moment with her. So I walked over to the open back of the van and I put my hands around her stomach as I had done so many times for the last time. And something quite extraordinary happened. what happened was that she was always lovely and warm and soft to touch, but I felt tremendous heat coming from her, far, far hotter than the warmth that I had usually felt from her. And it was as if the flames had divinized her, that she was now radiating the birth force, the love force, the fire force that is going to transform us. It was astounding. And before I read what I'm going to read to you, I want to tell you what has happened since I lost her. I have discovered for myself, in myself, that love never ends. True love never ends. It is eternal. And love never stops evolving. Because in the days in which I have sobbed for her and longed for her, she has arrived in me, and in unmistakably holy and beautiful ways. And so I know she's living inside me now. And I know that whatever I do or say or write will have her sweetness, her wisdom, her peace, her extraordinary serenity installed in it, because she has melted into me through our mutual love, and she and I are now one. And I know this not just because I know it personally. I know it because a great animal communicator, one of the greatest in the world, in Greece, whom I met on a bus in Namibia and really asked then to communicate with Jade, communicated with her and wrote me the most beautiful letter I have ever been written. And in it, she said, Jade is giving you 3 messages. And the messages Jade was giving in her typically Zen minimalist form were, tell him I did not suffer. Tell him that my time was coming and I left to set him free. And I left also to set myself free to do my sacred mission. And then she said the ultimate that she could ever have said. She said, I loved him more than my body could show. And when I died from the smoke, it wasn't the smoke that I breathed in with my last breath. It was our love. Then tell him that whatever unfolds for him in his sacred mission to help others birth a new world, I will be with him in eternal light, feeding him what I gave him in life: tenderness, courage, hope, sweetness, joy. So here is my memoriam for the beloved of my life. Excuse me. In memoriam, my cat Jade, born from a mother rescued from a house burnt down by Special Forces Marines in Tikrit, Iraq in late 2007, who died in another burning house in Oak Park, Illinois between 11:15 and 11:30 on May the 2nd, 2025. She was and is my everything.
my baby, my playmate, my sweetheart, my best friend, my muse, my teacher of peace, my guide into embodied, tender, blissful, unconditional life and love, my serene initiatrix into the mystery of mutual adoration beyond all categories or words, my beloved, my living philosopher's stone, my cat Magdalene throughout her long life, my cat Christ, who surrendered her life mysteriously so I could live on, and who lives in me now as the best and sweetest part of me, to steady, ripen, lighten, and ennoble me, as she always did, and now always will. It is finished, and it is begun. Mysterium tremendum, sanctus, sanctus, sanctus. Circumstances of the burning down of my house and of Jade's death are truly extraordinary. And I know you know I have a pretty wild, sacred imagination. Nothing could have prepared me for this. That morning, I finally found the guts in my preface to the book that I've been sweating and bleeding and howling and eating against the walls of my own self to create for you, which is called the Magdalene Revolution, and which I've been compelled to work on the final version of during this time, and which has been immeasurably embellished by what I've gone through. I finally found that morning the courage to write what I and many other Magdalene mystics on the earth know, which is that this isn't just the time of the return of the bride, the bridegroom, Mary Magdalene with Jesus. This is the time of the Pentecost of Mary Magdalene. Jesus' Pentecost happened in the upper room in Jerusalem after he died. The Pentecost of Mary Magdalene, which unites the masculine and feminine within the one Christ consciousness to make it finally able to birth the divine humanity it was originally attempted to birth and designed to birth. The time of her Pentecost is now. And I want you to just listen to what I wrote before the fire happened and to what I wrote yesterday to finish my book. It's so extraordinary what's been going on, but I want you to share it all so that it can fill you with joy as it fills me with joy. This is what I wrote that morning, and I was so happy that I finally kicked away the chair and found the guts to do Mystic Flamenco. Through the grace of vision and her, I have come to know in the depths of myself what many of the other lovers of the Magdalene also know, that we are now living in the time of the Pentecost when the flames of the Magdalene's unmasked truth and glorious presence are descending to initiate, liberate, and irradiate as many of us who are receptive in the last 30 years. The thorough, brilliant, brave, pioneering books from distinguished male and female mystics, theologians, and visionaries flooded the market, stirring passionate controversy and often exuberantly contradicting each other, opening up a myriad of approaches to her. Just as in the original Pentecost, after Jesus' ascension, when the flames of divine wisdom and love descended to initiate the disciples gathered in an upper room in Jerusalem, so now the flames of the divine feminine, as Mary Magdalene, are torrentially descending all over the world and will initiate and transform those who are ready. There are two essential lessons I've learned for myself about the Pentecost of the Magdalene that you who are reading this are potentially part of. The first is that the Pentecost of Mary Magdalene as incarnation of the passion, majesty, fierce and tender wisdom of the divine feminine does not erase, negate, or in any way challenge the original miracle. It fulfills and completes its initiation. As the Magdalene Revolution will, I hope, show you, it offers us for the first time and at a time when it is desperately needed, a comprehensive, all-inclusive, all-empowering and liberating vision, both transcendent and immanent of the authentic Christ consciousness, revealed in its golden radiance as a sacred marriage, mirrored and enacted in Jesus and Mary Magdalene's relationship of the divine masculine and the divine feminine in the Godhead, in the creation, and in us. It is this vision that pervades and illumines the Magdalene Revolution in all of its astounding and constantly evolving applications, not only for our own spiritual journeys, but for the evolution of humanity as a whole and of the world. Second truth of the Pentecost that I've learned is that this Pentecost of the Magdalene's true human divine nature is one that both inflames and necessitates all the different visions and approaches to her that are now being offered. Each of us who receives her fire receives it in terms of our own gifts, sexuality, spiritual personality, and unique mission. Each of us who have heard her voice speak in fire from within our own souls and hearts will sing out what we receive in our own unique and transformed voices, empowering those whose nature and needs are akin to ours, and mixing our voices gladly and humbly with all the other unleashed voices in a divine polyphonic mass of endlessly blossoming celebration. The Magdalene Revolution is one of the singing flames of her great Pentecost and this celebration. May it inspire you, dear friends, to become in your heart, life, and work, in your own unique and irreplaceable way, a singing flame, the sacred marriage. I thought that was the end of the preface. And that morning, I got up, having written that, feeling dizzy with excitement because at last I'd been able to get it out and say it, come what may. I'm burnt alive in Peter Square. I don't mind, it's out. And then the flames came down, destroyed my house, did the one thing that would kill me and resurrect me, take my beloved. And in my own way, I know now why Rumi was so transformed by the death of his irreplaceable beloved Shams. The one thing I couldn't believe that God would ever want me to experience, God put me through to reveal a miracle beyond anything that I could possibly have imagined. And so I wrote these words yesterday to finish the preface. When I first wrote those words on the morning of Friday, May the 2nd, 2025, it was what was my study in my small condo in Oak Park. I was elated. I had been wondering whether I could dare to include this vision of her Pentecost that I and others have been receiving in a book that, as you will see, is already radical and provocative enough. That morning, my last fears disappeared, and I was graced the courage to sing out loud on the page the music that had long been sounding in my heart. And the joy I felt when I'd finished stunned me and confirmed viscerally the truth of what I had written. It was a soft gray Chicago spring morning, and at about 11 o'clock, I went out to do some shopping for me and my beloved cat Jade, and to have a celebratory breakfast with the New York Times. And then when I returned, everything was gone. And then I said, I do not have to go into the grisly details of what then unfolded. One life I knew immediately was over. I have been through, as many of you must have, many deaths, losses, and ordeals in my long life. This has been by far the most devastating. For several days, I did not know whether I could or wanted to survive it. Losing my possessions and facing potential financial disaster did not much disturb me. It was losing Jade, my cat Magdalene, whom I had adored and been adored by, whose perfect beauty, wisdom, and tenderness had filled my life for joy for almost 2 decades, that almost drowned me in unbearable heartbreak and despair. Weeks later, through the love of my friends, intense prayer and spiritual practice with Jesus and the Magdalene, and many messages from Jade's in dreams, and from an amazing animal communicator in Greece, I find myself a different person. I feel both posthumous and completely, carefully alive, shattered but not broken, more convinced than ever of the truth I'm trying to reveal to you in the Magdalene Revolution, because I'm now raggedly living it, and more resolute than ever in my passion to serve you and the world with all I am and know in whatever time is left to me. The whole planet now is burning in the fires of a global dark night. Everyone who is even partially awake knows this. For decades, I've been trying to warn everyone that what is here now was coming, and that for all its devastating reality, this unprecedented dark night is an inevitable purification and a birth canal for a new embodied divine humanity. The fires of this night have now destroyed what was my life, but they have not destroyed the eternal love I lived with my beloved. And now I am realizing viscerally they are freeing and expanding and liberating me day by astonishing day to become finally my naked, true self. In such a dark night, no one at any spiritual or material level is immune to horror and sometimes intolerable grief and suffering. To pretend you are or might be is a dangerous illusion, because it will blind you to the necessity of doing the inner and outer work of uncovering your true human divine self, and then working, creating, and serving from its calm passion the birth of a new humanity and a new world out of the ashes of the old, whether you live to see it fully realized or not. Only such intense, vulnerable, bewildering, dangerous, ecstatic work can begin to prepare you for what is already exploding, what is coming, and what is still, even at this late hour in history, possible. There is much more that I could tell you, but that is the essence of the essence. I've been feeling completely naked with the naked. All my books burnt down because I don't really need to read another book or write one. I've got to be the book myself. All my treasures went away because I don't need treasures. I just need treasure that is being built step by step, grace by grace, in my being right now. I don't need my old clothes because they belong to a person I no longer am. I don't need to have a house. I will rent a small place wherever it is that I end up, and I will continue to dance for the beloved in gratitude for what beloved has given me and will give me always. And I will continue, whatever happens, to be progressively engoldened, to be able to bow to you all and offer to you all absolutely everything that I am being given, as I have for 40 years. What I do need is for the institute that I created with Jill Angelo and have kept alive for you through very difficult years. I need that now to continue, because now I am able to give the teachings in a completely different way. And my institute, which has already done amazing work, which has raised nearly 30 million to protect the white lion, which has done amazing things all over the world to protect the poor, which has inspired countless sacred activists all over the world, including doctors now in Gaza who ring me and tell me how much the hope is guiding them with their Islamic faith. I need that institute to go on, because it's the time when I and it can be most useful to you. And I want to end by just sharing with you the projects that were in the birth canal when the fire came and had already evolved in such an amazing way that I thought, oh my God, let me get this Magdalene book out and please God, give me the supporters and helpers to get these projects out so that they can be ready for what's going to come, which is that the fires are going to get much more intense before gold appears. It's inevitable. It has to be. There's nothing we can do about it, but we can change completely our attitude to it and prepare ourselves for it, and prepare ourselves to be reborn as divinizing sacred activists, pouring out the energy and wisdom and information and new kinds of creativity that the divinization process will give us into sacred, increasingly focused, increasingly efficient, increasingly grounded action. And if we unite those two streams that were united in Mary and Jesus, and that's the real meaning of Mary Magdalene coming back, to give us access to those two interlinked streams of divinization and sacred action. If we can unite these two, nothing will be impossible for us. Nothing, because we will then be drenched with divine grace and guided through the steaming, terrifying hurricane of chaos that is coming our way as the prelude to the birth of an unimaginable new order. These are not words. This is not poetry. This is what I know now through the grace of God, not through anything else, not through all the books I've written, not through even Rumi and Kabir, although they took me so far, but through the direct intervention of the Divine Mother and Father, who decided that it was time for my head to be shot off and my house to be burned down, and for me to experience myself what I had longed for so long without knowing it. The beginnings of the beginnings of the beginnings of the transfiguration process. It's not just for me, my friends. It's for all of you. It's a quantum leap. It's the birth
The birth isn't going to be a group of special people. The birth is going to be all of us together into a new level in which finally we will be truly human and truly divine and come together in joy, in celebration, in peace, in mutual respect, honoring each other's gifts to co-create together new systems of justice, new systems of harmony and coexistence in love with the whole creation and with the animal creation. New mystical systems that will honor the body, that will honor sexuality, that will help us divinize our body and our sexuality, so that finally, a great dream in the heart mind of God to see a fully human, fully divine humanity born will be realized. And what will happen then, I have no idea, but I do know right now that we will shoot our heads off with amazement, awe, and gratitude. And my institute will be one of those institutes all over the world. They're all going to come together, you'll see. And they're all going to give their unique singing flame to the great fire of the rebirth of humanity. What I've been planning is a new curriculum to be attuned to just this moment of absolute urgency, but also absolute possibility. I've been creating a Mary Magdalene sacred marriage mystery school with 4 astonishing Magdalene mystics, Mirabai Starr, Elaine Doughty, Banafsheh Sayad, the greatest living teacher of embodiment, and I'm hoping Anine van der Meer, whose new book, The Magdalene Ascension, is an absolute masterpiece, something so amazing. The full collection of all the sources echoing very exactly everything that I'm offering in the Magdalene Revolution without reading her book before it was finished. So wonderful. What we're going to do is meet twice a year, and it's going to start in 2027. And we're going to explore the vision of the sacred marriage in all of the mystical traditions to bring all of the knowledge from the depths of the wisdom traditions and make it available in a new way through music and dance and dream work and contemplation and anointing and visionary channeling to make available and activate that knowledge at the moment when it's needed most. I'm opening up, planning to a new kind of sacred travel agency in Kashmir, and also planning to have an oasis for the world teachers of the birth to come together to rest and to give instruction in a relaxed and gorgeous way to everyone in Kashmir. And I'm also starting a series of projects, which I will explain to you when they are ripe, which will bring through the internet the knowledge of the structures we now need to create. And this I'll be doing with very, very exciting people who really know how to structure the vision. I have a part of the vision, but I'm not a good structurer. That's not my gift, but they have the gift and they also have the vision. So everybody's gifts are going to be brought together in the greatest adventure of all, which lies before us all right now. But I cannot do any of these things without you. And there's something perfect about that, which I am laughing inwardly at. And that is that all this time, I have done all of what I've done alone with Jill and with Miles and with Annan. I've been ruthlessly independent because I didn't want my vision to be made into tofu. And the New Age is great at turning everything into tofu. I once looked in a catalog and saw sacred activism and aromatherapy. I have nothing against aromatherapy, but sacred activism is not about aromatherapy. And I didn't want anything that I'd been given in such grace from the divine to be polluted by the
disgusting marketplace that now has taken over the world. So I was alone. And there weren't a lot of people stepping up to help financially, except one amazing woman who I know will be listening to this and who I love beyond life itself. But now God has put me in the position where I have nothing to realize these plans for you. And two things are emerging for me about that. First, I am learning how to receive help. And that, for a proud Brit, is a tough business, but I'm enjoying it more day by day. And it's softening me and making me overjoyed at the response that I'm getting. I've been feeling for years very, very alone because for years nobody listened. But now so many are, and so many are showing me they are. And my heart is filled with gratitude and joy and amazement and humility. And the second reason is that these projects and all the projects that the birthers, and there are many of us, I'm not the only one, my God, there are many of us. And thank God I know some of them because they're doing the most amazing work that has ever been done on this earth. And because they have been prepared for lifetimes for this time, and they're here and they're helping and they're giving and we're giving together in not in a spirit of adoration of all beings, not because we feel we're special, but because we know you are special and you don't yet know it completely. And we're here to show you in how we are what you are. This is a revolution. It goes far beyond the early mystical systems. It goes far beyond the patriarchal mystical systems with their addiction to transcendence. It is the birth of authentic, sacred democracy. And that's why the authoritarian movement is trying to destroy democracy, because imperfect though it is, when it is infused with what's coming into it, it will be the perfect crucible for astounding creativity to be unleashed to dissolve the horrors far quicker than we imagine that are now threatening our very existence. So what's happened is that now I turn to you and I ask you on my birthday to please, please give generously to the preservation of the Institute and the realization of these plans. Many of you have already, but cooperate with this birther and help midwife these plans so that you can realize what I have realized through the grace of my beloved. So you can feel the fire running up and down your body and giving you more calm, more courage, more clarity, more wisdom than you ever imagined you could ever hold. So you can be empowered by a great yes in the middle of this terrifying no, and realize, oh, yes, the birth is coming. It's already here, and we are here to help it come through. So there are three ways you could. Of course, it would be wonderful if you donated. And if you donate $20, it will be as sacred to me as if you donated $1 billion, because it's not the money, it's the love, it's the commitment. Second way might be to share this video with a group of sacred buddies. Just get them around, get some good wine, have a good meal, and really talk to each other about what you're feeling about this time, what you know from your own experience of death and rebirth, what you're learning of the beloved through your visions, and really encourage the heaven out of each other to get down, get serious, get going. And the third way that you could help, and this is a very holy way, is that you could pray from the depths of your soul for me, for my work that has given you what I've given you, and for yourselves, and for the realization of this project of birth that the Institute enshrines. The fourth way there's always a fourth way that appears, is that you could perhaps buy Kabir's engoldenment, the engoldenment that I gave you in the middle of COVID, because I thought, if I'm going to die, what would I like to give humanity? And I thought, well, what I'd really like to give is Kabir. So I did. And there it is. And Kabir is the blue collar motherfucker trainer of the special forces of evolution. And if you get with Kabir, believe me, you will be trained to be prepared for anything in the best and most clean, clear, amazing way. So if you wanted to buy that book and give it to everyone you know and stand at street corners and hand it out to people who are going through this terrible crisis, bewildered, and who need the greatest of guides and the greatest of friends, that would also help this earth. Whatever you do, I love you. Whether you give or not, I love you still the same. I am so happy to be with you in this way. And I want to end by a poem that I wrote, which says everything I could at this moment. One day, your house, everything in it, everything you love, everyone you love, will all burn down. You will stand in the vanishing ashes with your head shot off. You don't know where or who you are. Then you remember that names mean nothing now. Don't call this liberation or enlightenment. If you have to call it anything, call it event. For event can be a mouse peering round the door while you're taking a piss, or a supernova exploding, or both together, or neither. No one knows anything about event until they know they can know nothing about why it just happens as it does, as everything that is not an event always does and always will. And as the last ashes vanish, a world exactly like the one you are in now slowly reassembles itself. But what was solid is a printed thin gauze lit with colorless light. For a moment you shake in panic, and then notice that that shaking stops. You can't keep anything. You're in the house of nothing. Nothing to hold on to. Nothing anywhere. Dead man laughing. May the silent laughter of my soul fill your soul with the silent laughter of the yes, we are going to birth together. I love you. Thank you. Happy birthday to you.